every time I've been in even a
Yeah.
corporate office, I'm the only Latina. So that like feeling of loneliness, like where are the rest of us? It's usually older white ladies that it just was really hard to have that office experience. So
Mhm.
part of that is like my journey and my experience where I'm like, where is there more of us? And even
Yeah.
trying to find mentors is hard, looking for people, looking for other Latina marketers. And so I started doing my research, and that's when I came across all the data that like less than 3% of marketers are Latinas. And that's honestly me rounding it up because they say 6% are Latinx, so what, like males
Mhm.
and females. And I say half, but it might be less than that. It might be like 2% that are actually Latinas.
Welcome to the Chingona Revolution podcast, where we will bring out your inner badass Latina, overcome self-doubt, help you gain clarity, and pave your own path, all while leading with courage. I am your host, Latina coach and speaker, Erica Cruz. Hello, friends. I hope you are all doing super well. In today's podcast interview, we are talking all things marketing. We're talking about why representation matters within marketing. We're also talking about different types of marketing jobs that you can get. And we're also talking all things entrepreneurship, being an immigrant. And in order to talk about all these topics, I have invited a marketing expert who is such a badass. And she also happens to be one of my clients. She is the founder of Majesty Academy. And she is the founder of Majesty Academy, which is the only marketing academy for Latinas. And this person is none other than Alejandra Hurtado. Sometimes I call her Ale, sometimes I call her Alejandra. I'm pretty sure in the interview I called her both, but she is such a badass, an immigrant from Colombia that is just like so beautiful inside and out, and is really just making a lot of waves and change in the industry and getting a lot more Latinas into marketing. When I was in tech, I also worked in marketing. I actually worked in like community marketing, and I also worked in product marketing. So there's just so many different avenues for marketing, and we get into that inside of the episode. So I'm so excited for you to hear it. Before we get into the episode, I also wanted to remind you that the Doors for Magnetic Mastermind, which is my high level group program, it is my mastermind for women entrepreneurs. The doors are going to be opening at the webinar. So we have a webinar coming up. Make sure you register if you haven't already registered. It is called How to Be Magnetic, and it's going to teach you how to attract opportunities, clients, and community without hustling. It's happening on Tuesday, April 16th at 5 o'clock Pacific. And again, this is a free webinar. The link to register is down below. Ale is somebody who is actually just completing the first round of Magnetic Mastermind. So you get to hear a little bit about her experience inside of the mastermind as well. Plus, we also get to hear more just about her story, right? Of being an immigrant, of going from working for somebody else to then starting her own academy, and how it is that she helps her clients. So let's go ahead and get into this interview. I hope you enjoy. Welcome back to Chingona Revolution podcast. I'm so excited about the conversation that we have today because one of my amazing clients, and yeah, I'm not kidding when I say that, I really look up to my clients because they're all doing such amazing things. But Alejandra, you have the only marketing academy for Latinas. So welcome to Chingona Revolution podcast. Can you tell us who you are and a little bit more about what you do?
Yes, and thank you for having me here. I'm super excited. So, a little bit about my story, just who I am. My name is Alejandra Hurtado. I was born and raised in Bogota, Colombia. So, I am an immigrant. I got to the US when I was about 11. I grew up in the Bay Area. I did go to school for marketing. That's what I graduated in my undergrad. I worked doing freelance, like event marketing, for a really long time. So I always knew that marketing was my thing. I was always super into it. And I always knew that I wanted to have a business. So when I went back to school to get my master's in digital marketing, I joined a business program there, which helped me launch my business. But when I first started, I was just Majesty Marketing, and I was a marketing agency helping small businesses, run their social media and all that. I really love doing it. I was also helping mostly Latino business owners. But then the pandemic happened, 2020. I lost a lot of my clients. But like you always teach us, if a door closes, something else opens. And I actually got a DM in LinkedIn asking if I wanted to teach a certificate program for digital marketing for University of Texas. So that's how like that kind of transition happened, where I was doing marketing for small businesses and then I started teaching. So when I started teaching for them, I actually put the whole curriculum together. I did everything. It was a 6-month long program. That's when I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. I love teaching. It was, university level. So I was really, really excited. But I really didn't like the way that they like handle the students. And I felt like the curriculum could have been better. So after that is when I said, you know what, I can do this, I can do that better. And then that's when Majesty Academy actually was born.
I love that. And it's the universe always puts you through different experiences so that you can learn from them and use them to create your own. Because, like, had that DM never come into your LinkedIn inbox, you like Majesty Academy wouldn't have existed, right? And like, how many clients have you had? Like, how many people have gone through the certification program?
So we've been live as a certificate program since the beginning of 2022. So it's almost 3 years now, and we've had over 150 women go through the program now.
That's incredible. You never know like what is going to be that little like turning point in your life. So I want to go more into marketing, but before we go there, you were 11 whenever you immigrated. Like that's an age where like your childhood memories are of being in Colombia. So like share with us a little bit like what were some of the challenges that you faced coming to the States when you were 11? And then I'll start with that question. So, like, tell us a little bit more about your experience and the challenges being the immigrant yourself, because a lot of like, I'm the child of immigrants, right? But you're
Yeah.
actually the immigrant yourself.
Right. And I feel like a lot of my students are first gen, the child of immigrants. So in that sense, we relate a little bit because I was really young. I was 11, but I am the immigrant. So I was the one who was exposed to a whole new world. We didn't speak English. We came here to live with my aunt. So it was just like leaving everything that I knew behind, coming to this whole new world where I didn't even understand anything. So it was really hard, like I didn't really have much friends when I first got here. If someone spoke Spanish, cool. And if not, I would just, I don't know, figure it out, hang out by myself. So it was really hard. But I do think that when you go through certain things, it lights a fire in you, right? And I also always, we didn't come from a wealthy background. We come from, again, Bogota, I would say like middle, more lower class. So that also was kind of like, I know what that feels like and I want more.
Yeah. And now tell us, how has being an immigrant and like having gone through these challenges helped you overcome challenges in business? Like, in other words, how has being an immigrant created resiliency within you to deal with uncertainty? Because I mean, we both know that entrepreneurship comes with so much uncertainty. So, how do you think your experience of being an immigrant has actually been really positive for you?
I mean, like you said, I think every time I think, I get scared or I'm like, oh, this is so hard or I can't do anything, I think about my own experience. Like, you came here as a child knowing nothing. It wasn't even your choice. You were just thrown in here and you just had to figure it out. And even as someone who didn't speak English, who was struggling, I've always been like, well, I have to get the best grades and I have to be the best student. And so it was really challenging for me not to be able to do that. And so it was just that willpower of like, no, I'm not gonna let this, push me back. Like, so I actually ended up learning English really fast and trying to catch up with the culture faster. But I think it gave me that like nada me queda grande type of vibe. Like I could do this, I could do this. And I also think of my mom because we were able to like pick up the language, but she kind of struggled and like, so it was two different experiences. So it's always like, if my mom could do it, I could do it. And if I could do it as an 11-year-old, then I could do it as a 32-year-old.
Exactly. I love it. Okay, thank you for sharing a little bit of that background. Let's go back to marketing because you and I had really interesting conversations when we had our VIP day around like why we need more Latinas in the marketing space. So, I should have asked you to like have these ahead of time, but like off the top of your head, what are the numbers of Latinas in marketing? If you have any like interesting stats to share with us, what would those be?
Yeah. So, and when I first started the academy, I was just gearing it towards women in general. But the more that I started learning and just like my own experience, like every time I've had a marketing job, I'm the only Latina. Every time I've been in even a
Yeah.
corporate office, I'm the only Latina. So that like feeling of loneliness, like where are the rest of us? It's usually older white ladies that it just was really hard to have that office experience. So
Mhm.
part of that is like my journey and my experience where I'm like, where is there more of us? And even
Yeah.
trying to find mentors is hard, looking for people, looking for other Latina marketers. And so I started doing my research, and that's when I came across all the data that like less than 3% of marketers are Latinas. And that's honestly me rounding it up because they say 6% are Latinx, so what, like males
Mhm.
and females. And I say half, but it might be less than that. It might be like 2% that are actually Latinas. So that's like one of the statistics. And then the more that I also just get into the power, and like we've seen it in the last couple years, Latinos are blowing up. Like here we are the biggest minority.
Right.
We are killing it in music. We're starting the most businesses. Latinas are going the most into college. So there's like all these data, and businesses do want to go after the Latino market because we're so powerful, but there
Mhm.
aren't enough marketers, Latinos, that can speak to that market. So that's why I was like, okay, no, like I'm taking matters into my own hands. And I really pivoted everything into, you know what, I'm going to make it my mission, my purpose to get more Latinas specifically and hopefully get that number a little bit higher.
Yes. Okay. You brought up the point about like adjusting your niche and you were just targeting women in general. When did you decide to make that pivot to just focus on Latinas? And then what happened to your business? Like what happened to the academy whenever you focused?
I love that question because the first year, again, I was like focusing just on women, and I think I was kind of being really general. But my humor, I'm super Spanglish. I pretty much listen to reggaeton. Like without meaning to, I was mostly attracting Latinas. And so I'm like, I love being able to create content in Spanglish. I love being able to use my reggaeton in my songs. I love being able to like have my personality, my Colombianness in there. And so little by little, I was like, the content that's speaking to Latinas always did better. So I was like, okay. And then little by little, I was like, my audience is Latinas. And then again, I started just doing more like research on data. And kid you not, the moment that I said, I'm going to niche even more down into Latinas. And I was scared, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's like very niche and there's
Yeah.
nobody else doing that. But I was like, I'm just gonna try it. And that's the moment that I feel like the business really blew up. I feel like that's when my audience felt seen, understood. Okay, she's talking to me. And that's when I feel like the audience or like the academy really started like being more out there.
That's amazing. And for context for people listening, even if you like don't have a business, I just wanted to give a little bit of context that whenever you're niching down, and if you don't know what a niche means, it means like your specific target audience. Sometimes people don't want to pick a niche because they don't want to pick the wrong niche. And then there's also a belief of like, oh, but I'm missing out on all these other people. And there's
Mhm.
almost this belief that you want to like serve everybody so everybody could be your client. But Amy Porterfield, who's like the host of, I think, Online Marketing Made Easy, I think is her podcast name, she says that when you're speaking to everyone, then you're speaking to no one. And
Mhm.
for you to really be able to trust, like, okay, my business is talking to me. My business is telling me what it needs. It wasn't like you went out
Right.
there trying to figure it out. Like you were taking action and then your business and your content was telling you that it was resonating the most with your Latina audience, especially when you were showing up as your full Colombian self. And
Yes.
sometimes we just like want to get the answer right, but you just have to start because then your business is going to tell you, your life is going to tell you. It's just like, are you taking the time to actually listen? And that's what you were able to do.
And I think you're like you said, your businesses talk to you. And I think one of the best things that I learned in that program too as an entrepreneur is just once you always have to be willing to pivot, adjust, change. Like you can't be stuck in your ways or you're literally gonna get stuck. And then
Mhm.
also a lot of it was like when I actually started talking to students, and you're like, oh, why Majesty Academy? And like the answer kept saying, because you're Latina, because I identified with you, because you put reggaeton and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, so like what you said, when you talk to everyone, people don't necessarily feel like, okay, you're talking to me. But the moment I was like, I'm talking to Latinas, like they all were like paying attention, like, oh, okay, so you are talking to me.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. If this podcast resonates with you, I invite you to my free webinar, How to Be Magnetic. You'll learn how to attract opportunities, clients, and community without the hustle. This free webinar is happening on Tuesday, April 16th at 5 o'clock Pacific, and you are going to learn all about my 4-step magnetic framework to attract opportunities, clients, and community. You're going to learn how to go from hustling to attracting using feminine energy. You'll learn how to make decisions for your business by listening to your intuition instead of following what everyone else is doing and saying on social media. You're also going to learn why you are so worthy of your wildest dreams and why, when these dreams come true, everybody benefits. This is for you if you are a female entrepreneur who's been really in her masculine slash hustly energy and you really want to embody your feminine slash magnetic energy. This is for you if you want to attract ideal clients and opportunities without having to slide into people's DMs or sound or feel salesy. And this is for you if you don't have a problem taking action, but you are just taking so much action to see what works and you just want to be intentional with your action because you don't have all the time in the world to do all of the different things. If you said yes to any of this, then join us on Tuesday, April 16th at 5 o'clock Pacific. This webinar is brought to you by Magnetic Mastermind. Magnetic Mastermind is a spiritual business mastermind for women entrepreneurs who want to double their demand by becoming magnetic. After the webinar, the doors for Magnetic Mastermind will open and there will be a 48-hour bonus for webinar attendees. This round of Magnetic Mastermind not only has a completely revised curriculum, but we also have an in-person kickoff event happening on May 25th and 26th in Santa Monica, California. So not only do you get to work with me for 6 months, and there's so many amazing bonuses that I don't want you to miss out on, but we also kick it off with an in-person event where you get to meet your mastermind sisters, you get to hang out with me, and we really just get to set the tone for the next 6 months. Make sure that you register for the webinar. That is when we are going to open doors for Magnetic Mastermind. To register, go down below to the show notes where you'll find the link, or you can go to the Erica Cruz, that's Erica with a K.com/webinar. I will see you then and enjoy the rest of the episode. So, whenever we were speaking during your VIP day, we were talking about how sometimes marketing campaigns that are trying to like address the Latino community just kind of miss the mark, right? And we were talking about the importance of having like just at least one or two Latinos on the marketing team and how that can make such a difference. I'm curious if you can, because people listening, they may not really know like what a marketing academy is, and they may not really know exactly what a campaign is. So I'm wondering if you can tell us maybe like one or two examples of recent campaigns that people have maybe seen, and then tell us like how they were maybe tone deaf or how like having a Latina marketer would have made a huge difference.
So the perfect example, and I guess I wouldn't say necessarily Latina, but I would say just like minority or person of color in general could be the that Kendall Jenner Pepsi commercial where it was like during a time there was like a lot of racial tension. It was like a lot of stuff was going on in the current world, and I think Pepsi was like, oh, let's kind of go with this. So they made Kendall Jenner go up to the police, give them the Pepsi, and it was like everybody was happy. That's a perfect example of clearly there was no minority in that room saying, guys, this seems a little insensitive or tone deaf, or why are we having this specific person be the representing party of this? So that's a perfect example of, brands sometimes want to do enter those conversations, but how are you going to do that when most of the, marketing team or the people making the decisions are white males who don't see that as offensive, right? Or there's another example recently right now, Kellogg's is under fire. People are boycotting Kellogg's because they made a commercial saying, or a campaign saying, how because people are struggling financially, the solution is to eat cereal for dinner to save money. But this is coming from a rich white man CEO who would never eat cereal for dinner. So people are like, are you being serious? Like, you wouldn't feed that to your kids. Why are you telling it to feed it to our kids? So again, that's another example of if somebody, a Latina, would be like, I would never feed, like, let's, rice and beans or something. Like, this should not come off as tone deaf. And then the CEO doubling down and kind of saying like, well, this is like the solution. Again, if a Latina or someone would have been like, hey, like, let's think about people in those shoes, which again, you can't really put yourself there if you've never been there. So we definitely need to be in these spaces and in these conversations, because they are targeting our communities and our people, yet they have no idea how to go about it.
Yes. Oh, thank you for those like tangible examples, because I'm sure people can, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that, seeing the either the Kellogg's or the Pepsi commercial. And I just want to highlight that you said that the percentages of Latinos and Latinas in marketing are just so slim. And I think it can be really intimidating as a woman of color or as a minority going into a room and being the only one who looks like you and feeling like, oh, I need to be different. But like, the fact that you aren't the same as everyone else is exactly what your superpower is, right? Like that's exactly what sets you apart. And I think this is why the work you're doing, Ale, is so important, because marketing isn't just like, it's not just a trend. Like marketing is literally what we consume as consumers on a daily basis. And the messages that we hear, like if they're not intentional or conscious, like they are doing a lot of harm. So I just think the work you're doing is so important for those two reasons, because one, you're helping more Latinas break into marketing. And then two, these are the messages that like us, our kids, like the future generations are like are observing, right? Or even just like people internationally, the way they know about the US is through media. Like that's
Correct.
their filter and their interpretation. So I really
Mhm.
feel like you're doing just like life-changing work by getting more Latinas into marketing.
Correct. And I think it's even just more than the campaigns and everything. It's also the like our community is not getting the information that they need. Like there are better brand alternatives, there are better products than Fabuloso, there are better products than certain brands that aren't necessarily the best for us, but again, those brands aren't reaching our communities, and we're not finding out about products that could be harming us, that we do have in our houses, that the big boys that aren't necessarily don't have our best interest at heart create these products, and no one's educating the audience of like, these might not be the best products, here's these other brands. So it's more than just like trying to get a sale and stuff. It's our livelihood, it's the products that we're consuming every day, and that unfortunately our community could be doing better, but there's just no one bridging that gap of communication.
Yeah, that is so, so powerful. What are some tips that you have for people who want to break into marketing? Like how do Latinas break into marketing? Obviously, working with you is one of the ways. But like any tips that you have.
Yeah, I think if you're listening to this podcast, you are already somehow being like dealing with marketing. Like it's in everything. If you're on social media every day, like you're dealing with marketing too. So I think one, it's like letting them know, hey, you're kind of already involved in this, but you're on the other side, right? You're the consumer. Like, how can you use the same tool to be on the other side and be the seller and make money? So I would say, obviously, number one is just educating yourself on like what would you really want to do? What are some of the, like, if you really like social media, you could do social media marketing. If you like, email and design, maybe you want to do email marketing. If you're more into data, then you could do like SEO or like analytical marketing. So finding out what calls you the most, or like what would you be interested in, and then finding, different ways to get those skills, which is either through a program like ours. There's so much content out there. I mean, there's YouTube, there's free courses. So just kind of getting that information, learning those skills, and then practice, just start posting your own content, volunteer for a brand, find an internship, to start getting that experience. And something that I like to tell a lot of people too, that I feel like sometimes people are scared because they're like, this is something new and I've never, I don't know marketing. Just remember that marketing is for every single industry. So, whatever industry you're in, if you like it, you could just start marketing for it. You have the knowledge, you have the experience. All you have to do is like a little pivot. So, it's not this like super scary monster that like you're having to start from scratch, because one, we've all been exposed to it, and two, it's in every industry. So, it doesn't really matter if you want to stay in the one you're in.
I'm so glad you said that because, yeah, every industry has marketing, just like every industry has sales. And I'm so glad you also touched on the different forms of marketing and how if you are more of an analytical person, there are different roles that you can work with. You don't like. I think people think, oh, I don't want to be behind the camera, or I don't want to be in front of the camera. But
Mm-hmm.
there's just so many ways of doing marketing. There's email marketing. There's social media marketing. There's I mean, I don't know. You listed a bunch of them. I've been out of the marketing world for a little while, but when I was in tech, I also worked in marketing and I actually did product marketing. So that
Oh,
was like a whole nother level
of
of
marketing.
marketing.
Right.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about like what is a common struggle that your clients like have gone through and how like have you been able to help them?
I think the biggest struggle, and you probably know this because you talk about it a lot, it's always mindset.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you have an Instagram, you've posted a photo. If you have a TikTok, you've probably posted a TikTok. You've probably bought something from an influencer. Like, the skills is just a matter of learning. You didn't know how to walk, you learn. You didn't know how to ride a bike, you learn. Like, it's not that, but the mindset of, can I do this? Will I be successful? No one in my family, no one around me even knows what this is. Who can I ask for questions? So it's always just getting the students like, you can do this. And they do it so well. Like, every single cohort, I'm like blown away. Like, they impress me. And I'm like, and but some of them are still so scared and like, I don't know if I can do this. And I'm like, look at your project. Like, look at what you did. You
Mhm.
can even do it better than a lot of the people that are doing it out there. So the biggest struggle is the mindset and the confidence of like, I can do this, I can do it well. I'm not going to be an expert right away, but I will get there.
Yes. Oh, I love that. And I feel like the mindset work is something that never goes away, right? Like, I mean, I've shared in the mastermind with you all when I'm going through mindset stuff. Obviously, everybody in the mastermind goes through mindset stuff. And I actually remember a point in which we were working together and you were concerned about like, oh my gosh, my next launch isn't coming up until like this day. And like I have like a lot of unexpected expenses because of what was going on in your life. And I was like, wait, Ale, you can just like make money like whenever you want. And you literally, like, by the next time we spoke, you were like, oh my gosh, I signed 2 one-on-one coaching clients and you made like $10,000. Like, literally, I mean, it wasn't like the snap of a finger, right? But
Yeah.
like, I just think a big thing that I'm like alluding to right now that I'm trying to get, that I'm a point I'm looking to make is that sometimes we forget that we are responsible for our abundance, like not a job, not even like a specific client. Like nobody's really responsible for our abundance except ourselves. Like even if you had to like walk away from your academy and like go get a job, like you can do that. Or you could go start a different academy if you needed to, or you could change it. Like we have
Right.
so much power as individuals. And I think a big part of that is mindset. I think that's what made me think about it. But yeah,
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about like that experience of just sending a few emails and then landing clients.
Yeah, and again, that was like another thing that, I have the answers, but sometimes it just takes somebody else pointing it out and kind of showing you, like, you've already done it. Like, what are you talking about? You can't do this, but you've already done it. So, obviously that's what a coach does and like what you did for me. Um, but yeah, I mean, I was like, I know I can make money. I have all the skills, but like I was just feeling stuck. So like having someone like you just be like, okay, we're gonna do this, this, and this, and then put that, game plan together, write out the emails, kind of set the offer, and then just start promoting it. I think it also gave me a lot of confidence, like you said, like not that I can just make things out of thin air, but like this is what I do, this is what a business is. It's finding
Exactly.
resources and finding ways to like, put yourself out there. And so I think, you've helped me a lot with that too, like the mindset of sales and the mindset of sometimes feeling slimy, but it's like this is what I do, like this is my job. And I don't know, sometimes I don't know why I would feel a little bit like not necessarily ashamed, but feeling a little bit like I don't know, not begging. I don't know how to say it, but like a little bit like, am I doing too much? But again, this is a business and this is what you do. I'm sure Pepsi's not saying, are we doing too much? I'm sure Fashion Nova is
Exactly.
not saying, am I doing too much? So why do we think that way?
Yeah, and this is why I think having like a culturally aligned coach is helpful, right? This is why your clients love working with you and why all my clients tend to be women of color because I think just culturally there's almost this shame in like selling yourself and we have constantly been getting this message of like be humble but you're right, like Pepsi's not out there being humble, right? Or like whenever you were working for the university, like you probably had no trouble pitching it, right? Because you're like, oh yeah, like I'm doing it with this university. But sometimes when it's us, it's difficult to put ourselves out
Mhm.
there and we don't want to come off as salesy. But I think a way to overcome that, which is something that you've been able to do in your business and I have as well, it's that we then focus on serving. And whenever you're coming at it from this place of service,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel salesy anymore. Because can you imagine if like somebody went to go sign up for your academy and you're like, oh, you know what? Sorry, I'm not going to let you join because I don't want to be salesy. That person would be pissed. They'd be like, what? I'm ready to like, I want my
Yes.
certificate. Like, I want to break into marketing. And it's so crazy how sometimes like our own mindset can block our blessings. So it's really important to be aware of these things. And I think this is why groups are so important, why your academy does so well and why group programs do so well, like the mastermind or like Courage Driven Latina.
And like you said, just aligning yourself with people that feel the same because, I feel like I can understand the struggles my students went through because I've been there. I've had other business coaches, male business coaches, who were, when I was feeling that way, like, oh, I'm shy, they don't understand. And they're like, why do you feel that way? Like, just get out there, and it's like,
Just
I
do
feel like,
it.
yeah. And I'm just like, that's, you are like, I understand, like you validate our feelings, and then this is how we're gonna go after. And I feel like that's how I'm with my students too, where
Yeah,
it's like I get it, I'm empathetic. So the difference between, having a white male coach on a whole other level and like, you and I being more aligned, it's such night and day.
for sure. Yes, I feel that on so many levels. Ale, is there anything I haven't asked you around like marketing or around like the academy that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Um, what I would just like to share, if anyone who is interested in marketing or maybe is not sure, I do recommend anybody who likes social media. If you like social media, you want to make money from it, marketing is, a really good choice. And I do think that right now with this economy and stuff, like there's no reason that if you aren't on social media all the time, that, maybe you should actually start using that tool to your benefit and to make money. So,
Totally.
my program is something that will bridge that gap if you want to learn how to create content, become a content creator, influencer, all that stuff, is part of it too.
You have things coming up. I was going to ask you this as one of my last questions, but let's just go to it now because we're on the topic. You have a freebie to that lets people know, like you have a free kind of checklist thing, a free quiz
Yes.
to let people know if marketing is for them or not. So we will add that below in the show notes. But you also have an upcoming webinar. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So yes, I do have a freebie and it's literally like find out if marketing is for you. You take it and then you'll see. I do have an upcoming webinar, so it's gonna be called De Pasión a Profesión. And it'll be an intro to social media marketing. So if you do want to just find out, what social media marketing is, why we need more Latinas, what kind of skills do you need, what sort of roles can you land, what it's like, transitioning from a different industry into marketing, I will be covering all of that. So it is like a kind of like an intensive 1 hour breaking down everything that it really means to become a social media marketer as a Latina.
I love the name. That because I think we had talked about you were working with a different name whenever we had our last meeting. So I love the updated name. Ah! You were going to say something else.
Oh, I was just gonna say that the webinar is happening. We have a date and everything, so it'll be April 18th at 6 p.m. I don't have it out to sign up yet, but I will by the time this goes out.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So we'll just link it down below. Like in the show notes. Okay, what is next for you? Like what are you looking forward to? What are your goals for the rest of the year?
For the rest of the year, I'm actually working on something that is exciting, which is trying to come up with like a Spanish version of the course because believe it or not, I get so many DMs like, tienes el curso en español, das clases en español. And so I have a really good friend who is a marketing professor in Mexico. So we're going
Yeah.
to be partnering up to launch it in Spanish because it is needed.
I love this for you. Oh my gosh, especially because your Spanish is so much better than mine.
Well,
No,
I
I
am
love it.
native, like my English is the one I struggle with.
No, you speak great English. You speak fantastic English. Oh my gosh. I don't know what caused me to ask you that question because I didn't have it written down, but I'm so glad I asked. That is so needed. Like you are really just like the marketing academy for Latinas, not just in the US, but like in Latino America. I cannot wait. That's going to be so freaking exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited, especially because again, it's needed and the fact that I'm already getting, I mean, I bet I at least 10 people have asked me. So the demand is there and again, I don't see anybody else doing this. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Yes, I'm so excited for you. And then I'm also excited that you have like somebody to support you with it so it all doesn't just fall on you. But like the beautiful thing is like you've already created the skeleton and the framework from your existing program that you can just like repurpose everything, right? There's no need to reinvent the wheel. I love this
Correct.
for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yay, how exciting. So, one of the last questions I have for you, and then I want to know like where people can find you and how they can connect with you. You have been in Magnetic Mastermind, which has gone on for the last few months. I'm curious, what kind of results have you gotten? We already talked about like the one-on-one coaching and you like generating money out of thin air. But like what has been helpful for you going through a container where you are surrounded by like other women entrepreneurs?
Well, like bouncing the ideas off of each other. And I feel like we've been really good at that. Where like, I bring solutions to them, they bring solutions to me. I think like, I've always known the importance of email marketing, but I think you like really solidified that, which I think that is one of the things that really helped me in this last launch. Like you said, you were like, send as many emails. I sent email every single day. Like it was the campaign where I've done the most social media action and also like took the email marketing a little bit more serious. And I think from that, I was able to get 13 students. It was like an almost $30,000 launch. So that also, was coming from a lot of the things that I learned in the mastermind.
Amazing. And you are literally just getting started because, especially everything we covered on our VIP day, I'm just so excited for your next enrollment too, and everybody who's in your program as well. Ale, where can people connect with you? Like, where can they follow you on social media? What's your website? Like, because I encourage anybody who's listening to this episode, if anything stood out to you, be sure to screenshot it and then tag us both so that we know like what stood out. But yeah, where can people find you and connect with you?
Yeah, so anything Academy related, it's Majesty Academy, majestyacademy.co.co. Same thing, Instagram, Majesty_Academy, TikTok, Twitter, all of that. We're on all the platforms. And then if you want to find me, I am under Your Marketing Chica on Instagram, on Twitter, and on TikTok. super active online. So definitely, if anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, anything, feel free to send me a message because I am active on there.
Yay. Okay, perfect. We will link all of that down below. Ale, it's always a pleasure. I can't wait to see you in person and do our dinner. You'll have to let me know whenever you are back in the Bay, but thank you for coming on the podcast. And I'm just so excited for your future, especially the Spanish version of the program.
Agreed. I'm super excited. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for everything. I've learned so much from you. And I think that, I'm super excited because I've already made some of the changes in the content now. So I cannot even wait till the end of the launch to tell you everything how it went.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's been not even a week since we had our last meeting and Ale's made all these changes. And yeah, I'm so excited for you. Amazing, Ale. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Have a fantastic day. And I will see you on our next call.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me this week. Make sure to visit theericacruz.com. That's Erica with a K, where you can subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode. You can help this podcast grow by supporting me with an Apple Podcast rate and review. If you took anything away from this episode, I invite you to take a screenshot and share it on social media so that your favorite badass Latinas can also check it out. Be sure to tag me at the Erica Cruz. That's Erica with a K because you know I want to see it. If you're ready to join the revolution and be a part of the Courage Driven Latina community, visit couragedrivenlatina.com to get more information and join the waitlist. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.